right, this is the one that I said I could see from the street. I can see all the ground scorch on these trees over here that all still have their leaves on them, which tells me this is a fresh one. So I'll go over there in a second. But what I see right here is some more fence posts that EBT is gonna have to be shilling real hard for. Fire don't do any of this. Look how deep this cavity is. Unburned on both sides of that cavity. This post, look how fine the line is between burn and unburn. Looks like it was hooked in right here where this nail goes. So that fence post was connected in right there. Nothing about this resembles anything like regular fire. Yeah, I did have that in. It was coming through. Nothing like regular fire here. Yeah. So, now that you can see this is plasma fire, 1000%, just from the looks of these fence posts. You can see where this one was connected in. Took a bigger chunk out right there. So, like I said, I can see the ground scorch on all of these. Well, not here, but yeah, even on these trees, like right here, you can see that the bark is scorched. The light's kind of blowing it out a bit for me. The light's really not. Yeah. Something happens with the light. You can see that transition. Anyway, so here you can see these trees still have the leaves on them, but the bark is blackened. And once again, the light is just not helping. It goes into some weird mode. Hopefully I'll be able to show you on some of these trees up here. All those, it's plasma fire. I don't care what you say or whether or not you can see it. And that's what the hardest part for me to conceive of was, that someone else can't see this when it's put right in front of them. So right here, can't really see it very well, but the bark on that tree is blackened, but the leaves right there, 6 inches, less than 6 inches, they're touching the ground right there, are touching blackened bark. Likewise with all these trees. They all still have their leaves. And this is what you'll see. You'll see the ground is scorched. These trees grow in groves. There's a grove right here. And the only place that the ground is scorched is under the trees, because they all have roots going down in the ground that draws the electricity up, I believe. Likewise with just this one. This small tree has a small black scorched area of dirt beneath it. But because the light blows it out so hard, let's go look at some of these that I can get right up on. So yes, this is plasma fire. Right here, there's charcoal on the ground where a tree once was. Man, I'm gonna have to figure out how that lighting works, because as soon as it hits a certain point, it just totally fucks it all up. So, get on up in here. Yeah. Scorched bark right here. That's the black soot of the charcoal that you can scrape off with your finger. And it's like that all the way along these trees. The bark is scorched. The leaves on the ground and the leaves on the trees are still remaining. This black circular tip right here is going to be the same as this black circular tip right here. Light's not helping. We'll find a better spot. Ouch. I might pause it for a sec. You can see how they're losing their bark. So you can see the dry leaves. And the scorch line goes right here. Curves up a little bit right there. The ground scorch is a term that I've coined. And you can see on this side of the ground scorch, we still have grass. And on that side of the ground scorch, there is no more grass. So I believe what's happening is that these trees have roots underground that go out to about here. Hold on. Oh, we got some more fence posts. You better call your boss and tell him you got your work cut out for you, EBT. Yeah, you definitely better call your boss. Tell him, man, I can't shield for you guys no more. This guy's just got way too much. See that? Charcoal. That fence post used to come clear down here. These ones, again, call your boss, EBT, tell him you can't shield this hard. See the unburned leaves that can touch, that can reach over and literally touch the scorched pole? If that pole put out flames, it would have reached over and burnt the unburned leaves. Likewise with this one. Hold on, I gotta put my drink down. First, look at this. See how much of this post it has literally disappeared? Right there where that wad, right there where that wad of wire is. I've got so much glare on my screen, I can't even see. Let's go down to this one. Hey, call your boss. Tell him you can't shield this hard for the guys at Big Fence Post anymore. You see the leaves here that are blackened? They're barely singed. It's not working with me very well. These leaves here are literally an inch away from the wood that burned to charcoal, yet the flammable leaf right next to it, touching it, did not burn. See some of these branches sticking right through the fence and went right past? Yeah, you better call your boss at Big Fence Post and tell him you just can't shield this hard. So you can see the bottom part of this is burned. Just like I've shown you in the video titled What Really Caused the California Fires, and the video titled Arming Firefighters with the White Hot Sword of Truth, where just the bottom part of the fence post disappears 100%. Looks like it was right there. That's where the fence post was, and the part from there clear up to here burned 100%, but right above where it stops burning is not even blackened. The flames from this part of the log burning to the point where it's disappeared would have reached up and blackened, at least blackened the rest of that post. So all these trees, they have scorched bark, and right down to the ground where there's ground scorch, there is unburned leaves touching the ground. There is unburned leaves on the ground, scattered all over the ground, all over the blackened, scorched ground. Work my way up the hill, you can see that the bottom part of that fence post is gone. It chewed out a big chunk right here, leaving unburned on both sides of that big chunk that's missing. So, it's hard for me to fathom that someone can just not see this when I put it right in front of them. It is easier for me to conceive that they are pretending as if they can't see it and working for someone who is trying to maintain a narrative that there is nothing but normal fire going on here, nothing to see here. Because I assume that they can see it, that leads me logically to that conclusion, that they can see this. And that they're simply pretending not to understand that normal fire doesn't do this, disappearing the post all the way down, along with that one. And I'm sure there's probably a couple others. Hopefully I'll be able to find some more of this blackened, scorched ground where the leaves, where there's more flammable leaves right next to the burned wood. That's what's remaining of it. There isn't even charcoal or ash here on the ground where the remainder of that fence post would be. Little tiny bit of charcoal right there. That's what's left of that whole fence post. Here's a nail. There's another nail. It completely disintegrated them to where there is nothing left. It bends the trees as well. I've documented this before. Those are broken. This one's bent. That's the bark. This tree is actually bent right here. That's why Jamie Lee believes it is lasers, the same technology being used in these fires. Again, here's a bent one. Oh, and this one gives us some good charcoal blackened. If I can get it to focus. Oh, I had it. There. Now you can see the charcoal on the inside of the curve of this stalk that's about as big around as my finger. And that it's bent, not broken. Likewise with that one, bent. And I'll find you some more. That one looks like it broke, but this one also is bent. You see how it's bending them? This one's more like 3/4 inch diameter. So, what Jamie Lee of A Plain Truth believes, and I think he might be onto something because this is a repeating pattern over and over and over. Look at all the bent ones you can see. This one, that one, that one. It literally bends them like it softens the wood while it's burning. And here's another pattern, the spike. There's a spike, there's a spike, there's a spike, there's a spike. The spiked pattern, where it burns it to a point, it literally hones the remaining piece of wood to a point. Here, here, here. Is something that I have in a video titled 18 Laser Strikes, my very first video from Spanish Fork. Here we have unburned leaves. This one is an unburned leaf sticking out with the pieces of wood that have been burned to a spike. So you can see how this energy concentrates on the thicker wood and leaves the more flammable material unburned. Likewise here. There's the burned spike. sticking out from the more highly flammable leaves. That's why I call these flameless forest fires. Because you can see this has turned to charcoal. Leaving the leaf right next to it unburned. And so it goes, the repeating pattern, all over the whole ground here. All of those little spikes that you see sticking up everywhere, those were small diameter trees. Have something a little different. Pieces of bone. You can see the scorched, the burning of the bone. Another piece over here. And like many of the logs, it's burned on the ends. I found pieces of wood like this all the time. Unburnt here, burnt on the ends of the piece of wood. Like the microwave energy radiates up, attracts to it, and goes out the ends, or vice versa. But you can see that bone is scorched, burned. Meanwhile, unburned leaves right here, right next to the scorched, and charcoal burned. Piece of wood. That's what the burned side looks like. Over here you will see the unburned wood. Unburned on this side, charcoaled on the other side, flammable leaves right there touching it. See all these spikes all across the ground? These were all trees before the fire, small diameter trees. And you can see the repeating pattern, how they've all been burned to a spike. This is something I've pointed out in my previous videos. There's some more burned bone, but I want to get these spikes. Regular fire does not just burn it down to a point, it burns the remainder, but here you can see it's unburned here, burns it to a spike. Leaving the more flammable foliage. Ouch! I think I got one of those bones or spikes right in my butt. So, you see how this is burnt? Yeah. On that side, because the sun is coming from that direction and they're all burnt on the opposite side, that's the other thing fire doesn't do. It doesn't just burn it on one side. All of these are unburnt on this side, unburnt on this side, highly burnt on this back side. But because of the direction the sun's pointing, it's hard for me to get on that other side and show you that it's burnt. You see all the spikes sticking up everywhere, unburnt at the bottom. Fire doesn't do that. It doesn't just burn it down and leave a 6-inch spike sticking out of the ground. This type of fire does, while also leaving the leaves of shoots sticking up out of the ground. And you can see there where the leaves are literally touching one of the burned pieces of wood. How does it burn wood and leave the leaves unburned? Because it's not fire, it's electricity that draws to the more dense material and leaves the less dense material unburned. That's why there's still unburned leaves scattered throughout the burned wood. They're all unburned on this side. Burned on this side. But because of the sun angle, it's a little tough for me to be able to show you the burn. You can see where this one's charcoaled. Yet unburned down here, charcoal up here. Charcoal right next to the leaves. So this was a flameless forest fire, leaving ground scorch everywhere it goes. Leaving charcoal here, unburned leaves literally right above it. Again, over here. Move the leaves, see the charcoaled wood. And the unburned leaves. That if there was any flame going on here, those leaves would have been burned. But it's not flame. It sizzles. Like a hot dog that you put in the microwave, you can pull it out and it's blackened, but never burst into flame, never combust. That's why James Grundtvig calls this field-activated combustion synthesis. Now I can go on the backside and show you this is unburned back here, unburned on the backside. These as well. Burned on this side. The wood is burned on this side. Unburned on the backside. Unburned on the backside. How many times must I repeat this pattern before someone can see it? Well, apparently there's some people whose mental immune system kicks in, and it doesn't matter how much evidence you present them with, they still cannot see it. It's a defense mechanism, a coping mechanism. Scorched bone, only on the ends, only on this end and this end. Fire doesn't just burn bones on the end. And by the way, that's a different bone than the one that we were looking at before. A burned pit here, a burned pit here. That takes out a couple of inches here and leaves that part unburned. Takes out a couple of inches here. Yet some people just say, well, that's just normal fire. That's just what fire does. I don't see nothing but twigs and kindling. Well, I couldn't fathom that someone's brain would actually be that broken. That's why I assumed they sold their soul. And that they're pretending as if they can't see. Because it's an even harder thing for me to wrap my mind around that someone could be presented with this and the library of evidence that I've amassed and still be unable to see it. Well, apparently that may be the case. And like I said, it's a mental immune system kicking in, a defense mechanism. Just like your biological immune system kicks in and attacks the foreign substance with antibodies, a person has their mental immune system kick in and attack the foreign information with antibodies, engaging their normalcy bias and cognitive dissonance by attacking and providing whatever excuse they have to tell themselves to say, oh, that's totally normal. Totally normal for the bottom of the fence post to be complete.